to Secondary Treasures, Unlocking Your Future. I'm Dr. Helen Wild, your host. We're really excited today because we're talking about a very important topic, college planning and financial aid planning. And we know that it's so important that our students and our families get accurate information on this topic. So today we have some very special guests to tell us some details and to help get you started if you're thinking about that process at this time. Today we have our guest Stacy Summer. Stacy is the guidance director from Fort Pierce Central High School. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you.
We also have Donald White. Donald is a current senior at Treasure Coast High School. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have April Mincy. April is our program specialist for secondary guidance and advisement. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Donald, we're going to start with you because we're so glad you could join us today. I know you have a very busy, very rigorous high school schedule and college schedule. But I learned about you because you are also part of the Take Stock in Children Scholarship Program, and April Mincy has been your mentor. So tell us about that program and what it has meant for you.
Take Stock in Children is probably the best opportunity I've ever had, in all honesty. It is a fantastic scholarship. You get it, you apply for it in 8th grade, or you get recommended into it in 8th grade. And basically, if you keep the GPA requirements, and as long as you meet up with your mentor, you will be able to get the scholarship will pay for your tuition.
Okay. And so how did having a mentor actually help you get to where you are today, very successful senior?
I know that it's not completely possible, but I think everybody should have a mentor. It's just an awesome opportunity, especially if you get one who's used to be a guidance counselor, because she knows what's mandatory. She knows what you should be doing at any given time. So just the advice I've gotten from her has been insanely helpful.
Oh, that's great. So, April, can you tell us a little bit more about the Take Stock in Children program and your role and how you believe it's helped Donald with college planning?
Sure. As Donald said, it usually starts in middle school. They identify students of need, whether it's that they're a first-generation college student, low income. Most, I think 65% are minority students, and they identify them young, and they connect them with a mentor, and they have to meet certain requirements and keep their grades up, stay off drugs, attend school regularly. They even encourage families to get courses to let them know about what's needed to prepare for college, and so everybody has a support system. And Donald used to say the motivation piece was a big part for him. He knew I was hovering. Did you do this? Did you take that test? And it was really casual for us. Like, he'd come by my office, and now I'll go see him at his college campus. But just knowing that check-in, right, Donald, it was just good to have that support and, on the journey.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Donald, as a senior, I know you've been busy in the college planning process. So have you decided where you're going yet?
My first choice is UCF.
Okay.
And then, in case I shouldn't get into there, I also am applying to UF.
All right, great for you. So you have a backup plan if you don't get your first choice. And you told me a little bit about your interests. Why did you select UCF?
UCF just has an overall good engineering program.
Okay.
And also they have a partnership, sort of, with Disney.
Okay.
A good portion of their engineers who graduate will go on to be Imagineers. That's the Disney term for it. So I just know that it sounds like a great opportunity to work with Disney for your first year out of college.
Okay, so you did some research and you did it in line with your interest and where you think you want to go in your future, and then you matched a college to those interests. Good for you. You told me that you're also part of a unique club at Treasure Coast High School. Tell us about that.
I'm not sure if all high schools have this, but they should. It's a college prep club, sort of. And basically what you do is the person in charge of that club will make sure that everybody's on track for the college process. They will tell you, this scholarship's deadline is coming up, that type of stuff. They'll tell you this scholarship is now available.
Okay.
And just overall, it'll help any student who's not familiar with this process.
Okay, just a little extra help. That's great. April, changing subjects a little bit, I know before you were a guidance counselor, you were a teacher in one of our very special courses, which is called Freshman Seminar,
Yes.
a course that we offer at all of our comprehensive high schools. That is a topic we'll need to do another show on.
Okay.
But as a freshman seminar teacher, how did you contribute to the college planning process for our students?
The class itself is designed to support freshmen throughout high school, to give them that foundation, because research keeps showing continually that a successful freshman year will prove to be a successful high school experience for a student. So part of seminar is exploring careers in colleges. So it's a very personalized experience where we can have guidance counselors come into the class and talk about what colleges are going to require. We explore career academies. We talk about interests as connected to career academies and future college interests. So the actual curriculum for the course just allows for deep exploration.
So it helps students connect what they're doing in that very first year in high school with the end goal.
Very much. I mean, from the very first weeks in school, when a counselor comes in and talks about what's required, we can align the student interests, how they're doing academically, encourage them to take rigorous courses, and prepare for college that way.
All right, so we've heard about 2 support systems for our students in this process. Ms. Summer, as the guidance director, you're responsible for making sure that the guidance counselors keep all of the students on track. How do you let the students know what they should be doing each year and make sure that they understand that process as a guidance department?
We're fortunate enough at Fort Pierce Central to have our guidance counselors paired up with students for 2 years in a row. So they split them alphabetically, but they loop with them for 2 years. So they'll start as a freshman counselor and help them create their courses and making sure that they're on track just to meet their graduation requirements. We're in the process right now, beginning next week, going back into the classrooms to explain the courses that are available for the upcoming year, and that's when we sit down with them individually and encourage them to, kind of stretch their limits a little bit, start looking at those upper level courses, maybe picking up some AP. 10th graders do have the opportunity to do dual enrollment as well. So we try to make sure that they're focusing on, kind of creating a blueprint of what the colleges are looking for. So we do that in the lower levels. The upper levels will be doing the same thing, but encouraging them more to start our juniors right now are taking their SATs and ATs for the first time, and hopefully, getting a baseline score to see where they need to improve or whatever it is that they need to do to meet requirements for college admissions, Bright Futures applications, those type of things. So we kind of it's nice to be able to have that personalization for 2 years in a row before they transition to the upper level.
So it sounds like every guidance counselor has a role in college planning,
Yes.
not just the counselor someone happens to have in their senior year.
Absolutely.
And you plan it out so that everyone's involved.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Stacey, I know it was important to you to share with our families and our students some information about financial aid. And you have some slides to share and talk to us about some key points that are important, because we don't want finances and tuition to be a barrier to our students.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a priority for every student that's planning to enter college to complete their FAFSA application, which is the federal application for free application for federal student aid. And each college requires them to complete that because that will enable them to determine how much money the federal government may offer them, as well as the individual schools themselves. And that also pairs with the Bright Future scholarships. But what we do at the school is we offer a financial aid workshop night where we invite the students. Every single senior is spoken to individually. We go to the classrooms, present the program to them in the classrooms, and then we offer that to the parents to come in on an evening where we have a representative from the Office of Student Financial Assistance who will come in and do a presentation and a step-by-step of what the FAFSA is, what it entails, what it provides for, as well as the Florida financial aid, which includes Bright Futures and several other scholarships. So we do that, and then the parents know ahead of time, because of the classroom presentations, the documentation that they need to bring with them as far as their 1040 forms or bank statements. And we take them into the computer labs and do a step-by-step process for the FAFSA so that it's completed by the time they leave that evening.
Oh, that's great. And I know we have a photo, a slide with some photos from your recent financial aid night. It was packed.
Yes, it was.
And I know all of our high schools provide that type of service, and sometimes the teachers are involved in the process as well. I know Treasure Coast had their evening last night. And you can see from the photos displayed right now how many people came. So it's a
Yes.
very valuable service.
That's the actual a photograph of the actual computer workshop where the parents are sitting down. We also have financial aid representatives that assist us from the local state colleges here. So it's a really nice opportunity to have hands-on experts that have the answers to those little questions that we as high school guidance counselors may not always know, because every family has a different circumstance financially. It could be a two-parent family, it could be a single-parent family, it could be a grandparent. So everybody's situation is a little bit different. So it's really nice to have those people on hand to be able to assist.
So whether or not you think you are going to qualify for financial aid, what is your advice about filling out the FAFSA?
I would suggest that, well, they have to, if they plan to attend college, it's a requirement. But the thing is, they need to do it as early as possible. January 1st is when the window opens for the application, and I know a lot of people don't have their previous year's taxes completed at that time, but they encourage you to go ahead and complete the application. You can estimate your amount based on the previous year's taxes and then update it automatically, especially if you file electronically. There's a IRS update button. All you have to do is push it and everything self-populates.
Yeah, as a parent of two students that did go on to college, I have done the FAFSA myself. Really surprised how easy it was. People are afraid of it because it's financial records and it's the computer, but it's quite simple. But so much easier for our parents because
Absolutely.
you all provide those workshops for them. So that's wonderful. So many of our students do plan, as Donald has said, to enter the state university system in Florida.
Yes.
And I know all of the guidance counselors go every year and get updated as to changes in the state university system. What are some of the basics that you teach your students about applying to the state university system? What do they have to make sure they do and prepare to do that?
Initially, especially in their junior year, we encourage them to start building an academic resume to make sure that they have the credentials that the colleges are looking for, because a lot of times, they do want to push and get the level and rigor of the coursework that, the colleges want to see, but they also stress that they want to see that well-rounded student. They just don't want the academic scholar. They want, somebody that's a volunteer in their community, somebody that has a focus and can make a positive contribution to their campus. So the main thing that we encourage in our students, of course, is, build your academic resume with the level and rigor of the coursework that they want to see, because that's what they want to see is the success in the courses that you're doing at school, to know that you're going to be successful once you step onto their campus. But they also want to know what you're going to contribute as a student to their university.
Well, that's a very good way to put it. What are you going to contribute and get experience in doing that?
Yes.
You do also sometimes have some students that plan to go out of state, sometimes Ivy League schools or very competitive schools. Is the advice different for them, or what do you tell them to do while planning?
And typically when they're choosing to go out of state, and a lot of times they complete the Common App online, which most of the out-of-state universities do use. So that kind of helps them guide on some of the requirements that are necessary for those colleges. However, the coursework, especially if they're choosing to do AP and or dual enrollment coursework to build, their academic resume, a lot of times some courses won't transfer over. So we need to be very careful. If they know ahead of time that that's the path that they're choosing to take, then we try to make sure that they're taking the coursework that will go with them. Because a lot of times that, they've spent so much time and worked so hard to get those courses, and a lot of times they won't accept those courses out of state. And we also make them very aware that the tuition can be triple of what it would be for an in-state school, and that if they've earned the Bright Future Scholarship, that will not go with them.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we spoke about on our last show when we were talking about the ACE program specifically. And a student did his research and knew he was selecting a school that didn't take any college equivalent courses while in high school, but he knew ahead of time. He did the research. He spoke to his guidance counselor, so that's always excellent advice. So in Florida, our students are extremely fortunate because they do have access to the Bright Futures program.
Yes.
But it's very important that they follow all the steps for Bright Futures and do everything when they're supposed to do it. Can you talk our students through some tips for making sure that they qualify for Bright Futures?
Yes. And initially, in the freshman year, the counselors are going into the freshman seminar classes, as April discussed earlier, and they're actually creating a portfolio either through the Choices program or Florida Virtual Campus. And the nice thing about that is that the Florida Virtual Campus actually links directly with Bright Futures and ties in the courses that they've taken along the way each year to show them, what they've done so far to meet the Bright Futures requirements as far as coursework. But basically, they just need to make sure that they've met the four core requirements as far as their English is, their math, their science, and social studies, the 2 foreign languages, and then of course the GPA is paramount because they have to have a minimum GPA of either a 3.0 or a 3.5 weighted. But a lot of times the students will look at their cumulative GPA and say, oh, I have that. But they need to understand it's only those 16 courses, those English, the math, science, social studies, and the foreign language, not the PE, not the culinary class that they took that they got straight A's in. So it's very important that they understand that. And of course the volunteer hours.
Right. I think we have some slides on Bright Futures, and maybe you can help walk us through those.
Sure. It's a little difficult to see, but there are 3 different levels of Bright Future scholarships that are available. The upper level is called Florida Academic Scholars, and that's the actual highest award amount as far as monetary value. That pays out about $103 per credit hour. And for a student to qualify for that, they need to have the 3.5 weighted GPA. They need to have 100 hours of community service. And then the most difficult thing for most students is obtaining the standardized test scores that are required. And it's a 1290 on the SAT for the Florida Academic Scholars, or a 29 composite on the ACT. And the 1290 only consists of the reading and the math component of the SAT, not the entire composite score.
Okay, and the deadlines are listed there, and I know they're different if a student is graduating early.
Correct.
Which would be after the first semester of their senior year, relatively new option for our students.
Yes.
So that is something they need to pay attention to.
And we actually did have an early graduate at Fort Pierce Central this year. We just submitted her final production Bright Futures submission to the state, and she is qualified. But we had to have everything in prior to December 31st of this year, so she actually had to, apply for last year's Bright Futures if she was going to try to use it for January courses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and here we have the 3 different types that you just described. So you can move on to the next slide.
And that's also talking about the volunteer hours. The main thing I want to express regarding the Gold Seal Vocational, the one that's at the bottom, that's a very different type of scholarship because it's not something that's used for the typical college credit course. Those are used for career and technical courses where the students are receiving clock hours towards certification in a given area. So those requirements are a little bit different, and the scholarship itself is applied toward different type of coursework.
Okay, yeah, the volunteer hours is something that students really do need to know ahead of time, and we don't want them scrambling for that at the last minute. Let's share again the test scores that are required, because it's very important that kids do prepare for that. You can take these tests multiple times to try to get the score that you need to qualify for the scholarship you're looking for, right?
Yes, and as you can see, it did change. In 2012-13, the scores were a little bit less stringent, and it changed in 2013-14, and now it is that same requirement this year as well. As I said, it was the 1290 for the reading and math combined for the SAT, a 29 composite on your ACT. For the Florida Medallion, that one pays about $78 per credit hour, and it's an 1170 for the SAT and a 26 on the ACT. The nice thing about Bright Futures is they do something called super scoring, where they will, as you said, students can take the test multiple times. So however many times they take it, they will take the best sub-score out of any test that they take to create the composite required.
So that way, if a student has already done very well on one segment, they can focus all their energy on preparing for the next.
Yes.
So that's good to know. So once a student goes on to college with a Bright Futures scholarship, is there anything else they need to be aware of?
Yes. It is an annually renewed scholarship. The nice thing is, if for some reason they have something that comes up in their life and they opt not to start college immediately, they are able to hold on to that Bright Future scholarship for 2 years after high school graduation before initiating it. But if they do start immediately, it will pay out for 5 years or up to 120 credit hours. But they do have to maintain certain academic requirements. They have to be a full-time student, which they consider at 12 credit hours, and they have to, for the Florida Academic Scholars, they must maintain a 3.0 GPA, and for the Medallion, it must be a 2.75. or they will lose it, but they have one chance to reinstate it. If something happens, they have an opportunity to redo it.
So I think it would be good advice to say, learn that from your high school counselor, and then find a great college counselor when you
Yes,
get there
absolutely.
to remind you of what they are. Okay, well, thank you. April, as a ninth grade counselor, how important was it for you to emphasize the need for students to take advanced classes in high school?
Kind of along the lines of what Stacy was saying about what colleges are looking for. They are looking for rigor. We're hearing more and more the past even 5 years from universities and colleges about the competitiveness, but also the preparedness and knowing how to handle and being prepared in those college courses. So we tell students and we encourage them, if you enjoy a subject, take an advanced course. If there's an area that might interest you and you're not sure, just give it a shot, because we want to give that well-rounded resume, but we also want them to take the rigorous courses. One school, when they came to speak to our students, was talking about, no longer do they say, oh, this is a 4.2 GPA. They might see a 4.2 and a 4.0, but they're looking at the rigor here. This student has a little bit better of a mixed background, more volunteer hours, but also they're going to be able to handle the courses and the rigor in college, because they've shown that they can do it in high school. It's pretty important.
Transcript development is key. And Donald, I know that you've shared with me that you did a combination of ACE courses and dual enrollment, a very rigorous transcript that you developed, and you also have a little sister. So what type of advice would you give to her when she's getting ready to follow in your footsteps?
I'm recommending what Miss Mincy said. What I'm telling her is the subject she's good at, the ones that she's interested in, the ones she's passionate about, those she has to take dual enrollment and ACE. She should be going for the more advanced courses, the harder ones, because she will have the motivation to succeed in those classes thanks to her interest in it. But the classes that she's not so good at, I have recommended that she takes the honors one, or that she takes the intro to that subject at the college instead of just jumping right in.
Good for you. And you did also say that the ACE curriculum that you're a part of is extremely rigorous. And I asked you if you thought it was worth it in addition to just building your transcript. Did it teach you some skills that you think you're going to use in the future?
Definitely.
Definitely.
If anybody's taken ACE Chem, they know the rigor of that class. They know just how difficult it is, and it definitely prepares them for any college chem class that they will take, organic or not.
Right. And you actually attended Lincoln Park Academy and Treasure Coast High School. And in talking to me about your plans, you said that you had some amazing teachers, I think those were the words you used, who helped guide you along the way. And then you also said you learned a lot of college information, college planning information from your peers, from other students. And I asked how you knew that that information was accurate. Can you tell us how you knew that? So what was your answer?
Normally I can check it. Any information that my friends would give me, I can either check it with a teacher, or you can just go online onto the website and check that too. And normally what they're going to say sounds realistic, but just in case, you should go check that.
Verify it. That's very good advice. When you told me that, I wanted to make sure that we discussed that today. That was good advice. April, you planned the college fair this year. Tell us about that.
It was exciting. I'd attended other years, but this year I had taken over the task, and it's grown. We encourage juniors and seniors to attend. It's at the Civic Center, and we join up with Martin County Schools. Our counselors come, and they monitor who's coming. They put flyers around campus. They send email blasts through Skyward, and they encourage the students to come on out. They have the students walk in, and they have a book of where the schools are located, and they quite enjoy talking to the admissions counselors and seeing what they're looking for. And some students, I know Donald mentioned to us that he had some ideas when he went about what he was looking for, but some students come and they're not quite sure, and the advisors are very good at digging. What are your interests? What do you know about our school? And highlighting what their schools can offer to an incoming freshman. And some schools have, a new school last year had a scholarship just for anybody wanting to come to their school because they were new in the state university system. So they attracted some parents. Hey, we're struggling. I don't know if we're going to get bright futures. We might look into this. And so there's a lot of different little stories from students who have been encouraged by the night.
Well, it was so well attended, and we had so many colleges there, a broad array of choices for our students.
Very
and
much.
You mentioned that Donald did attend. How did you plan for that college fair? Did you just go and walk around, or did you prepare ahead of time?
Every kid's situation is going to be different, mine included. And since I'm taking Take Stock in Children, one of the requirements is that I get my AAI or a C. I already knew that UCF, they accept up to 12 credits after you graduate, before you're not a freshman anymore. So I was going around, I was asking them their policy on that, because I will have to take a couple IRC classes before I get my AA.
Okay. So you took your own personal situation and planned your questions ahead of time.
Yeah, that's what everybody should do. They should look at what they're going through, what they've got going for them, and then they should plan ahead of time before they show up, because going up there with basic questions isn't going to help much.
Okay, so if you ever change your mind about becoming an engineer, come talk to me and we'll make you a school guidance counselor. We'll explain how you can become a guidance counselor, because you're giving excellent advice.
Yes.
I asked April and Stacy to also share some resources with our families today so students and parents can plan independently of their school guidance counselor as well. So, April, could you share the first resource that you brought?
This is a College Board website called You Can Go. A few years ago, they shared that with us, and I know we shared it in freshman seminar. When you go, it immediately populates a video. It's not showing right now because this is the still, but it has individual stories from students of their background, why they thought they might not be able to attend school, and how they got the encouragement or the information they were able to find. And there are different tabs and different areas that you can go to explore, basically encouraging you to go when you might think otherwise that you cannot.
Great. And Stacy, can you share the next resource?
Sure. Okay, the Big Future is also on the College Board website, and it kind of is a sister package to the You Can Go. And it does an interest inventory in the beginning where the students focus on themselves. You can kind of see a little on the screen now where it says get a plan. And basically it starts off with little prompt questions as far as what grade you're in. And then it says, I want to, and I'm not sure what I want to do for college. I already have a plan for college. So it self-navigates how the student answers their questions, which is really nice because some students really do have an idea. They know they want to go to Florida State University because their entire family has gone there. But then you have other students who really don't know. So it takes them step by step, but it also will help them search for colleges. It also has videos on there from real students who've experienced different situations, either, same as what April had just shared, of they didn't think they can go for any particular reason. And then, they also are able to talk, or not talk, but listen to educational professionals and giving them advice as well.
Great. And the next one is the Florida Virtual Campus site.
And I'll just mention quickly that Florida Virtual Campus and Florida Choices link together to show student progress, their transcripts, and all of the options connected to career and college interests.
And those are programs that students can use beginning in middle school to start planning for their future. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and a very special thanks to our guests. Wonderful information, and I can't tell you how proud I am that our students have these services and our families have these resources. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show and found it very informative. Please visit us at www.stlucieschools.org for additional information.